Right now, swimming in the depths of the Arctic Ocean, there are creatures that were alive when Napoleon was conquering Europe. These aren't ancient fossils or mythical beasts. They're Greenland sharks, and their existence is more terrifying than any horror movie you've ever watched. What makes their lives so incredibly cursed isn't just that they live for centuries. It's how they're forced to survive those centuries. Picture this. You're born already fully formed inside your mother's body, but she doesn't care about you at all. The moment you're ready, she dumps you and your 9 siblings into water so cold, it would freeze most creatures solid in minutes. No goodbye, no protection, no looking back. You're completely on your own in one of the most hostile environments on Earth, and this is just the beginning of your nightmare. But here's where things get really twisted. Your blood contains a chemical called trimethylamine oxide, basically antifreeze for sharks. It keeps you alive in water that's barely above freezing, but it also makes your entire body incredibly toxic. Every piece of your flesh is poisonous enough to make dogs lose the ability to walk and turn humans into stumbling, drunken messes for days. You're essentially a swimming poison factory, cursed to be toxic to almost everything that might want to eat you, including your own kind. The water around you is pitch black, and you move through it like you're trapped in slow motion. Your metabolism is so incredibly slow that you'll only grow about 1 centimeter per year. 1 centimeter. That means by the time you're fully grown, decades will have passed, and you'll have watched entire generations of other sea creatures live and die around you multiple times over. But the real horror is just getting started. Within your first few years of life, something absolutely disgusting happens. Small crustaceans, like tiny underwater leeches, find your eyes and latch on permanently. They dig in deep, refusing to let go, and slowly but surely, they blind you completely. Imagine spending the next 400 years of your life in total darkness, navigating by nothing but smell and the faint electrical signals that other creatures give off when they move. You can't see your prey, you can't see predators coming, and you can't even see others of your own species. You're condemned to drift through an endless black void, completely alone, with these disgusting parasites hanging off your face like some kind of twisted jewelry. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Now here's what makes this even more insane. Because your metabolism is so ridiculously slow, you can go months, sometimes half a year, without eating a single thing. Your body temperature stays just above freezing, and you burn energy so slowly that you're basically a living zombie drifting through the ocean depths. Other predators need to eat constantly to survive, but you're trapped in this weird limbo where you're not quite alive and not quite dead. When you do find food, it's usually something that's already rotting. Fresh kills get snatched up by faster predators near the surface, so you're left with the scraps that sink down to your level. Dead fish, whale carcasses, anything that other creatures have given up on. You're essentially the ocean's cleanup crew, but you don't get to choose what's on the menu. And speaking of toxic, let's talk about just how poisonous your flesh really is. That same chemical keeping you alive in freezing water, trimethylamine oxide, breaks down into a compound so nasty that Inuit communities have stories about dogs eating Greenland shark meat and becoming completely paralyzed for days. In Iceland, they actually eat this toxic meat, but only after burying it underground for months and then hanging it in the wind for several more months to let most of the poison break down. Even after all that preparation, eating it makes people violently sick and gives them hallucinations. They call the experience being shark drunk, and it can last for days. Imagine being so toxic that even after months of preparation, you still make people trip out of their minds. That's the level of poison running through your veins every single day. But the loneliness might be the worst part of your cursed existence. You won't reach sexual maturity until you're 150 years old. Let that sink in for a moment. A century and a half of drifting alone through the darkness before your body is even capable of reproduction. Most animals live their entire lives in that time span, but for you, it's just the warm-up period. And when you finally do encounter another member of your species, it might be the first time in decades, maybe even a full century. There's no courtship, no bonding, no family structure. You mate quickly and then drift apart immediately, probably never to see each other again. You're biologically programmed to be antisocial, spending centuries in complete isolation with only brief encounters with your own kind. The modern world has made your existence even more bizarre. Sometimes, strange metal objects appear in your territory, submarines and research vessels that don't behave like any creature you've ever encountered. They follow you with mechanical precision, making sounds that don't match anything in your ancient memory. These encounters confuse creatures whose instincts were developed over millions of years, long before humans even existed. Climate change is warming the waters you've called home for centuries, forcing you to dive deeper or move to new territories. Imagine surviving for 300 years in the same region, only to have the environment completely change around you in just a few decades. You're watching your ancient world disappear, and there's nowhere else cold enough for your toxic antifreeze blood to work properly. The strangest part? Scientists have found Greenland sharks with harpoon tips in their bodies from the 1800s. These creatures are swimming around today with wounds from whaling expeditions that happened when your great-great-grandparents weren't even born yet. They're living museums of human history, carrying scars from conflicts and adventures that happened centuries ago. Your growth is so incredibly slow that by the time you reach your full size, around 20 feet, you could be 400 years old. You've potentially outlived entire human civilizations, watched the rise and fall of empires, and survived through wars, revolutions, and technological advances that completely transformed the world above the surface. But even after all those centuries of survival, your end usually comes suddenly and violently. Orcas, the apex predators of the ocean, hunt you in coordinated groups. They're faster, smarter, and work together in ways your solitary species never learned. When they find you, there's no escape. Your slow, ancient body can't match their speed and intelligence. After 400 years of patient survival, navigating by touch and smell through endless darkness, your life ends in a matter of minutes. The creatures that have hunted in these waters for mere decades overpower the ancient giant that has survived for centuries. Your massive body, filled with toxic flesh that nothing else can safely eat, slowly sinks to the ocean floor where smaller scavengers will eventually clean your bones. The most haunting part isn't just how long you live, but how utterly alone you spend those centuries. No family bonds, no social structures, no companions. Just endless decades of drifting through freezing darkness with parasites hanging from your eyes, occasionally bumping into others of your kind for brief, meaningless encounters. You're a living fossil, carrying genetic memories of oceans that existed before humans walked the earth, yet you're forced to navigate a world that's changing faster than your ancient instincts can adapt to. Every day of your multi-century life is spent in conditions that would be fatal to almost any other creature, sustained by blood so toxic it could poison an entire ecosystem. This is the reality of being born as a Greenland shark, cursed to live longer than almost any other vertebrate on Earth, but forced to spend every single year of that extended life in blind, toxic, freezing isolation. It's an existence so alien and harsh that it makes every other predator's life look like paradise in comparison. The next time you think your life is tough, remember these ancient creatures drifting through Arctic waters right now, carrying wounds older than your country and memories spanning centuries of solitude. They're the ultimate survivors, but survival came at a cost that's almost too brutal to comprehend. That's a wrap on today's wild journey. But here at the Zoo-phoria show, we're just getting started exploring nature's most incredible stories. Subscribe if you want to keep discovering the shocking, hilarious, and downright unbelievable truths about the animals sharing our planet. Your next favorite animal fact is just one click away.